Just a cool, refreshing way to write music.
I just think it plays a huge role in how you feel and how you interact with sounds and people and everything.
Metal music is so energetic and experimental. It goes hand in hand with computer games very, very well.
We had kind of been looking for an opportunity to write music for a video game, or kind of get our foot into that world, because we love video games and we play the heck out of them. Or we play the HE double hockey sticks out of them. I don't know if we're
You can say how, it's fine.
on this channel.
Out of them, dude.
Yeah, we played the Jesus out of them, if you will. But we are pretty avid gamers. Maybe not so much as an actual avid gamer, but we grew up with different consoles and stuff like that, Super Nintendo, things like that. So we were already super interested, and I think we were kind of looking for an opportunity to do what we already do and add that to our hobby and kind of mix those two worlds together. I think I'd heard of it, but I'd never played it, and it was one of those things that came up, and I got the email and I was like, oh, I think I know what that is. Let me YouTube it real quick. And watching a couple of videos, I was like, oh, the music is cool. And then once we got the stems for the project, I was like, oh, we could totally do well on this, and I think we could help make it thrive and really serve the project.
You can definitely take at face value how quirky of a game it is, like the cute meets sort of dark art style, and I think that you could abstract that as being kind of very in common with us. Maybe that's the best way to describe us, genre-wise, is just quirky. Looking at it that way, it felt like a natural, good fit.
We are hoping to work towards doing more things like this. Maybe we'll do a Polyphia movie crossover thing one day. Who knows? But I think, really, in my opinion anyway, I'm chasing the challenge. I like challenging myself in new ways. And going back to one of your other questions, this is kind of just a cool, refreshing way to write music.
Well, I've actually been putting my feelers out to get in the gaming world for a while, and the score game as well. It's something that I've been really interested in for a while. So I've been consciously trying to get out there in the world, and then someone reached out to me, Matt Obler reached out to me and said, this opportunity has arisen. Name some people that are going to be working on the project. I'm like, oh, this sounds cool. I didn't actually know the game, so no shame there. I didn't know the game at the time, but I'm a huge game fan. When I was a kid, I was completely immersed in that world, and I'm so aware of how important soundtracks are, especially when you're younger and you're really immersed in those games. I think it's so special, and it really plays a part in the way that you listen to things as you grow up. So yeah, I jumped on it instantly, and we took it from there.
Were there any games from your own childhood that maybe influenced your own musical taste, or songs that stand out from things you remember playing back in the day?
Yeah, so just recently I've been listening to the Tomb Raider 1 soundtrack, and honestly, it's just the power that these nostalgic influences have when you find them. I mean, I'm 34 now, and I'm only just rediscovering these feelings that I had when I was a kid, but it almost absorbs into you as a kid through the subconscious. It's not it's not a conscious act of you listening. It's just through osmosis, you're absorbing all this music. And I just think it plays a huge role in how you feel and how you interact with sounds and people and everything moving through life. I really do think it's got that much of a big impact. So that's why I'm really interested in gaming and making music for games, because there's something about being immersed in another world, and this music is kind of filtering in. It's just, it blows my mind. But yeah, Tomb Raider, I was a huge fan of Pandemonium. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah, big PS1 platformer, wasn't it? Yeah.
Pandemonium, I listened to that soundtrack a lot. Crash Bandicoot, stuff like that.
And there is that big there seems to be quite a big intersection between metal fans and gaming fans. And I don't know if you had any thoughts about why that might be, or...
I think alternative kids fall into these kind of things, I think. I think I ended up in a band, or I used to skate. I was in this area of life, and I used to play games. I don't know. Maybe it's a slight sense of not feeling like you're really fitting in with the majority, which is so common. So you find means that aren't so popular. You know, it's so much like the underground of things to do as a kid. You find other means to express yourself, and they usually manifest in things like this, where there's a small. I mean, gaming's much bigger now, but yeah, I mean, you know, becoming a band or skating wasn't the most popular thing to do as a kid, but I think you just gravitate towards these things because, yeah, they're just not the popular opinion, and the stuff that everyone else seems to be doing maybe not resonate with you as much. So maybe that's where the link is, and I think maybe as well, like when I'm writing music, before I had my own studio, luckily now I have my own studio, but when I was a kid, it was all about being in your bedroom on your own. I used to have my top off, sweating my ass off at 1 a.m. with a little 8-track recorder that I stole from music at school. And I'm like just riffing. It's like in that moment is literally what my life's all been about. And I think it's the same thing with the games. Like you find yourself in another universe completely, in this unconscious realm, and you kind of disappear and you go somewhere that you're almost co-creating. So I think, you know, you're actually a participant in the game, and when you're making the music, there's a similar aspect in positive escapism. Let's call it that.
Interesting about War of Being was not only was it a traditional album release, but you also worked on a game also called War of Being to release alongside it, which is super interesting. I guess just briefly, what is War of Being the game, and how does it tie in to the album?
It's been through a couple of iterations already. I started working on this. It's an Unreal Engine game. I've been working alongside a programmer and a designer, a concept artist, and we've been building and making the world that we created for the record, which goes alongside the concepts. The War of Being game, initially when we released it on Steam, we did it in a way to kind of, rather than break free of the traditional constraints of, you know, the way that you would release music normally, which is you release an album, but before that you might release some singles and you'll accompany those with music videos. We thought it'd be interesting to release a song in a small computer game to start with. So it was a VR experience, but also playable in desktop, and it was very much a way for players to experience the environments and the worlds that we created, and to meet some of the characters, but also discover parts of the song that we were releasing. And at the end of the game, you got to hear the whole thing before it actually got released on digital service providers. So it was quite a different experience for fans to kind of, you know, discover a new song from us, but in the medium of a computer game. What
drew you to the idea of doing this?
Well, I've always been a very keen gamer. During lockdown, I began to live stream quite a lot. So I have my own Twitch channel and my Twitch community. And I started to play a lot of VR games on stream, live to people. And then I also started to delve in VR chat, if you've heard of that before. And it was just a way of meeting the fans in a VR realm. And we found some cool environments to kind of like chat and play around in. And one of them happened to be like a retro cyberpunk musical stage. And I had the idea of actually singing through some of our songs in that world. So we actually had a really fun time where I'd be singing through some of the music, and we'd get, you know, everyone dressed up in different avatars, and we would record it live on stream, like people dancing around me as I'm singing VR, which is such a weird, bizarre experience. But it did give me a lot of ideas, because a lot of people that listen to rock and metal also are gamers, for the majority, from what I can make out. And you've only got to look at games like Doom, for example, and the Mick Gordon soundtrack for that, and realise that metal music is so energetic and experimental and treated as escapism that it goes hand in hand with computer games very, very well. And I thought, what about if we could build a replica of my studio in VR. And I had one of my moderators on Twitch just happened to be a programmer, and he was the one that got me into this. And we built a replica of my studio in VR, and that was where the idea started. And when we went into the studio to record the album, myself and Amos worked on, who was the bassist from TesseracT, we worked on this whole story that went with the album. And as we were developing some of the promotional material for that, we were working with a film director, a film company in America called Found Format, and they reached out to some of their friends in the CGI world, and they built a whole world based on our concept in Unreal Engine, and we performed on green screen in front of that, and we had some really nice animations that went with it. And so that really started to make things tick a little bit, and that's enabled us to expand our development team now. So we have a lot of volunteers from the TesseracT fan base that have stepped forward, that already work in the gaming industry, and on the back of that, we're now working and linking into universities. Our game is going to be much bigger than what we originally thought it was going to be, but it's going to be a very unique experience for us as a band to inject our whole album into a gaming universe. And we're already, even based on the release of the early access, we're making new fans that are just discovering the game and discovering TesseracT's music. And so I really do value the fan base that we have, and we have grown from the bottom upwards, and it's been a long journey, but people have stuck by us over the years, and that's really translating into the word of mouth, the way that it's spreading, and there's a definite crossover into the gaming world. So it's a no-brainer for me. Obviously, it's quite a massive project, and I have spent 2 years alongside my two main counterparts, which are Adam Boyd and Kirsty Harvey, and it's just going from strength to strength, really. We're kind of like halfway through the game development. We were hoping to release the full game by the end of 2025. It's a first-person RPG game, adventure, puzzle-based combat system, all singing, all dancing, inventory systems, skill trees, really nice dialogue throughout the whole game, which ties into the story. So it's a really nice way for fans to experience the world that we've created for the album.
You've got an eye on gaming. Is there like a dream project you'd like to get involved with, or I don't know, anything you'd like to explore a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, a dream project would be to do the soundtrack to Tomb Raider. That holds an incredibly deep place within my subconscious from being a kid. So something, a big, full 360 for me to do the score and soundtrack for Tomb Raider would be incredible. But anything in that world that kind of relates to my childhood, because it just, as everyone knows, there's something when you get this far apart, like your 30s to when you were like, I don't know, 10, and you get moments from back there's something that's just super magic about it. So to be part of something like that, Pandemonium or Tomb Raider would be so cool.
I think we'd be intrigued to really break that mold and to have the opportunity to like work on something where we could take like a more, I guess, maybe non-traditional approach to like, or an approach to just something that's not so like catered to us, like a rock song in a video game, like to be able to like score something in a way that was just way more left field from what we were used to in terms of like, especially with this arrangement where there was like kind of already like a rock song skeleton to like right over into change. But it'd be a fun project in the future to like try to get on some Hans Zimmer stuff.
I mean, I was watching a recent interview with Clown from Slipknot, and he was talking about developing games, and he was saying how totally unrealistic it is for anyone to release a game these days or build one because of how complex it is. But I just hope that what we're doing is proof that if you have people around, even just a few people around you, and you're willing to learn, that the technology now, especially with Unreal Engine, is getting better and better and more usable all the time, that it is possible to do these things. And I think you just need to have a really good idea that resonates with people and put your passion into it. And if you put your passion into anything for long enough, I guarantee something beautiful is going to transpire from it. I mean, you look at my musical career. Like I had a really well paid job at one point. I sacrificed it to be a lifer to metal, and that wasn't an easy transition. And I've been grinding away with Tesseract for 20 years now, and we're now at the point where, you know, we're a worldwide artist and we're touring all the time, and we're 5 albums in. So, you know, put your passion into a project and run with it and see where it goes is my advice.